Welcome into the Mobile Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here at 2600 Airline Drive. PJ's Coffee. Come down, get something sweet, get something good, get something that's good for your soul. And if you're on the way down here, come into Matt Bauer's car. We got Matt Bauer's new state-of-the-art Ford facility on Veterans Memorial Boulevard next to our normal studio. I'm here today with one and only Mike.
What's going on?
Mike. God. Ever since the last show, we just been talking about Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener. Yesterday, Nick does what he does, top of the game, broke that Jake Haener was named the starting quarterback moving forward, especially this weekend against the Commanders. So let's get into our first segment presented by Urban South. What do we expect from Jake Haener in his first NFL start?
I expect as much for better and for worse as I expected from Spencer Rattler going into his first start. I think there was a lot more buzz and excitement about Rattler because, I think the ceiling still probably does feel higher, but I also expected, some good and some bad, and we've seen that in brief glimpses from Haener. He's attempted 29 passes. He's completed just under half of them, but he did lead the Saints on one touchdown drive, and then in the Chargers game when Rattler got benched and he came out in there, he had 4 drives, and he led them to 2 field goal attempts and the 3-yard line on 4 of those drives. So he has moved the ball, only 1 touchdown, no turnovers. And, we've seen him throughout training camp. It was close with him and Rattler in camp. And he has an uber confidence that you hear every time he talks. And I think he displays that. Nick had a great line earlier this week when he said he's like Jolt Cola out there because, he maybe he'll be able to slow that down. I think every time we've seen him come in the game, he's treating the opportunity like he's only got one shot. Now he's got a whole game to maybe settle in. But the other thing he has going for him that Spencer Rattler didn't is all 5 starting offensive linemen.
Right.
Now, we thought that would make a difference in New York last week, and it did not.
No.
The run game was awful in New York, and I was very surprised. And the offensive line didn't look that good. But now they've had 2 weeks together. He's going to have Eric McCoy. He's going to have Cesar Ruiz. Spencer Rattler didn't have that luxury. And so if they can get a run game going, if they can keep the score close, I think he can settle in and be a, it's funny. I was just talking to Andrew Janoko today. And he pointed out this is going to be his 3rd time in 2 years where he's coaching a guy making his first NFL start, including Tyson Bagent with the Bears last year. Yeah. Now, Tyson Bagent won his first NFL start with the Bears and was playing pretty well in the Superdome until the Saints finally got to him. Can he come out and have a Tyson Bagent-like performance? That's not too much to ask.
No, it's not too much to ask at all, especially today after hearing Haener talk about the entire experience. I even forgot that during the summer, he went through personal experiences with the skin cancer diagnosis, overcoming that, going through training camp, coming into this season. Derek gets hurt. They say, okay, we're going to go with Spencer. And he's just sitting there like, well, bro, I've been here for a year. I've been doing the same things. What have I done to not kind of be put in this position? Then continuing throughout, just continue to be a team player. I said on Wednesday that I thought Spencer should start this game. I'm not going to go off of that, but I can say with just hearing Jake talk about this opportunity, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
That gives me more confidence.
Yeah.
That gives me way more confidence in his ability to just go out there and sling it. Just do something. You know what I mean?
I do wonder how much of that is Jake trying to convince himself that he has nothing to lose. Because in the next breath, he said, this might be the only chance I ever get to start an NFL game, which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he recognizes the reality of that. But I also am glad that he's saying, I recognize that, but I'm not going to let that make me play tight. He said, it wouldn't do me any good to go out there and be like, I can't screw up.
Right.
He's like, this team is 5-8. This might be my one chance. Derek could be back next week. They could turn to Spencer next week, next year. Who knows? But the best thing he can do is put his best game on tape.
Sure.
Not don't screw it up, not be conservative. He's going to go out there and I think we're going to see a little Jameis. I think we're going to see a little Derek Carr. I think we're going to see a little I'm trying to make you guys recognize me and my qualities. And he always lists his preparation, and so does everybody else, as his number one quality. He thinks he's an NFL starter. He thinks he's Drew Brees. He's been trying to be Drew Brees since he was a fan of Drew Brees's as like a 4th grader, wearing a Drew Brees jersey to school. That's how he acted all throughout college when he did a great job for Fresno State after he transferred from Washington. That's how he's always carried himself around here. He has that confidence, but he also has that just like unbridled energy, the Jolt Cola energy, and you see it now. Maybe to his detriment. Maybe he needs to take one deep breath, but he is not a guy that's going to come in and try to go, 11 of 18 with a bunch of handoffs in this game. He's going to try to move the chains.
No, for sure. And even looking at his past experience in the NFL when he's gotten into the game, late in that Denver game, the Saints, they were soulless out there. They were just walking around. He comes in, does some things with Cedric Wilson, ends up scoring a touchdown. And it was encouraging, like, okay, when he doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders in that certain sense of come in and make something happen, he can just do his thing and make it happen. So I think with an opportunity to prepare this entire week, go in there, name the starter on a Thursday, going into a Sunday game.
And really, the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
I think Nick reported that part of the reason they waited to officially tell everyone on Thursday afternoon was they wanted to go through 2 days of practice, make sure everything looked as expected, but they went into Wednesday and Thursday's practice with the intention of Haener starting for sure.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what the guy can do. I really am. I think that, he's earned this opportunity. I know we talked the other day about having to just stay ready and put yourself in positions and stuff, but I honestly do think, what is there to lose? Go out there, show what you can do, and, man, I hope you succeed. I really do.
You said you were thinking Rattler. If the question is 100% best chance to beat the Commanders, were you still leaning Rattler for that, or were you leaning Rattler more because you can't help but have an eye toward 2025 and giving Rattler as many chances as possible? If this is just – like if you're like, Derek Carr's coming back next week, it's just 1 week, would you still be picking Rattler over Haener? Or who really gives the Saints the best chance to win this week?
I mean, honestly, I think Rattler, but – in all honesty, I would be crazy to not see what the Saints have in Jake. That would be, I honestly think that Jake and Spencer both have upsides. We could talk about
they both have downsides.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And we could both talk about the ceiling over on the career. But look, let's just put it out there, put it on tape, see what we could do. Let's not talk about college. Oh, in college they did this, in college they did that. Let's put it on tape in the NFL, live bullets, and see what happens. So I'm sticking on it just because in my heart, I do believe that, but I'm not mad at all that they went with Jake Haener because I think you need to see what they have out there.
I kind of think Jake Haener gives them the best chance to win this week, but partly because of the decisions they made previously. Yeah. They've had Jake be the backup since Rattler got benched in Week 8.
Yeah.
So for the last almost 2 months, Haener's been the backup, and he's entered multiple games as the backup because of that. So he's just gotten a little more prepared for this. I think if you always thought you were going to turn back to Rattler if needed, I would have kept him as the number 2. So that's part of the reason why. But even if you are I don't care at all who gives the Saints the best chance to win in this game, which is probably a large portion of the fan base.
Yeah.
This doesn't hurt the 2025 team either. Like, it doesn't hurt to find out, check a few boxes and find out what you have in Haener. I mean, I think we all think Rattler is the higher ceiling developmental prospect, the one guy who maybe could develop into a starter or is more likely to develop into a starter. But it doesn't hurt the team to check a couple boxes and get some more information on Jake Haener too, which they certainly will in this game. And as we said earlier this week, if Haener does struggle and gets 1 or 2 starts, there will be opportunities to turn to Rattler before the season's over. Right. I know they're making it seem like Carr is really close to coming back because they didn't even rule him out for this game. They listed him as doubtful.
Yeah.
And knowing Carr, even if the Saints lose these next 2 games and get mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, he'll probably want to play against the Raiders in Week 17. But, I think once they get mathematically eliminated, we'll be sitting in these chairs and we'll be having a lot more conversations about should they start looking at quarterbacks who might be starting next year and let Carr's hand heal.
And that's exactly where I was about to go with Derek Carr and Rizzy's comments saying that, hey, we don't even know if we might list Carr as the backup quarterback or the emergency third-string quarterback. And it's like, man,
give him a week off. Yeah. For God's sakes, give him a week off.
Yeah, but at this point, I mean, look, you're trying to show people that you should get that interim tag taken off, turning over every rock and see. So, hey, I respect it in a certain sense, but –
Yeah, Rizzi's all in to win this game. No doubt about it.
He has to be. Every game. He has to be. He has no choice.
Carr shouldn't see the field.
I
would think. Like, he has not even officially cleared the concussion protocol, although they seem pretty confident that he would clear the concussion protocol. He just needs to pass one more step, which I assume is going through Saturday's walkthrough.
Yeah.
But that would be Carr playing without practicing all week and Carr playing with a fracture in his hand that is, like, heavily like in what world
is
does
that
it
even
help
necessary?
you for Carr to enter the game as the backup? Like, just tell him, all right, let's see how you look Monday. We'll reevaluate it Monday morning.
It's okay, Warrior. You can, calm down and sit this one out. But let's go to our next segment presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Which matchups matter most going into Sunday's game against the Commanders? There was some, there was a clip on Twitter going around on Marshon Lattimore this morning saying, they traded me away. I'm going back to show them why they shouldn't have.
Well, there's two answers to this question. One is Marshon Lattimore. We'll start there since you said. I mean, look, that's who we want to watch. Well, we want to watch Marshon and we want to watch Jaden Daniels as football fans, as football analysts, as people interested in this game, as Southern Louisiana football fans. Marshon Lattimore has Saints ties. Jaden Daniels has LSU ties. But we'll start with Marshon Lattimore because it's going to be his first game as a Commander. Mm-hmm. The nation wants to watch him. I mean, he's been in national headlines, national reports for a long time. Will he or won't he play? And he hasn't been playing. He's finally playing this week. The only reason that's not the number one matchup to watch is because who's he covering? Like MVS? Like, is MVS going to get that Mike Evans rise out of him? Man, I wish it was. If this was Chris Olave versus Marshon Lattimore,
training camp all over, great.
It would be the number one matchup to watch in the NFL this week, I think.
Right.
But yes, how motivated Marshon Lattimore is, how big of a difference maker Lattimore is, how much Lattimore ruins Jake Haener's big day. We've always talked about the games that Lattimore gets up for. Mm-hmm. He's unstoppable. Mm-hmm. The Mike Evans games. Sometimes when he faces mediocre talent, you feel like, hey, somebody needs to wake Marshon up. But I feel like he'll be motivated for this game. Not only that he's been waiting, 6 weeks or whatever since the last time he played, back in the Superdome, first chance to impress the Commanders. That's a team trying to secure a playoff spot. I think we're going to see a motivated Marshon Lattimore, and I'm really eager to see. I'm really eager just to watch him play. We've always liked watching him play. He was our number one player on this roster until he wasn't on the roster.
When he was on the roster. But a word that you said in that just stuck out to me, not only with Marshon, but it's really pretty applicable to Jake also, motivated. And what's the fuel behind that motivation? Spite. Look, I'm only 24 years in the game, but I really do think that spite is the greatest motivator out there. Like, because, man, just the doubt across the board of certain things, Jake being able to go out and say, well, they didn't choose me the first time. Let me show them why that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And then even Marshon right now they traded me away.
That one. Well, I raised an eyebrow at that line. They traded me away. I want to prove them wrong. You were like handing them the card, telling them what number to send the card to. You were liking posts about being traded this offseason. Look, I don't. Obviously, there was just a divide and a disconnect. He never demanded a trade, but he was a willing conspirator in the process that led to him ultimately being traded. So I don't know. I don't know if he's looking for motivation or how much slight he feels for sure. But
yeah, but I do think, man, if it was good on good, it would have been. Not saying that MVS and them aren't good, but it was top strength against top strength. I think that it would be an incredible matchup. Even Derek Carr, if he was in that quarterback, just that, I don't know, man. That I've been talking about the past couple weeks that Carr picked Marshon. We were waiting to see it because even Marshon, he didn't practice too much during training camp because he was out with that hip flexor injury. But just to be able to see that is good. But what other matchups?
The matchup in this game is pretty obvious.
Oh,
it's Jaden Daniels specifically, it's the Commanders' run game overall. This is a team that has number 4 offense in yards per game, number 3 in rushing yards per game, and this has been a pretty lousy run defense. Now, look, they showed some signs against the Giants. They held the Giants' running backs in check. Funny enough, they couldn't stop Drew Lock from scrambling. But obviously they weren't game planning to stop Drew Lock. They will be game planning to stop Jaden Daniels. We've talked about this for years. When the Saints used to be going 13-3 and being a 1 seed and a 2 seed, they were having trouble stopping mobile quarterbacks. They did all right against Jalen Hurts earlier this year, but Jaden Daniels is second. He's got a few more rushing yards than Jalen Hurts. He's second in the league among all quarterbacks in rushing yards this year. He's dynamic. He's electric.
Right.
Brian Robinson Jr. is now healthy. He had the bye week to get healthier. He's been one of the better running backs in the league this year. Like I said, the number 3 rushing team in the NFL. And the Saints have had to show over and over again that they can stop the run. And Washington should be able to keep running. The best way to stop a team from running is to get a lead and build a lead. And we don't think that's going to be hard for the Saints to do. So they're going to have to stop the run for all 4 quarters in this game. And frankly, that's why I'm going to pick the Commanders to win this game, because I don't think the Saints have not demonstrated that they can handle a matchup like this so far this year.
A couple of different pieces, but even last year, you talk about Tyson Bagent coming in, and he was scrambling. He was scrambling around. And I was like, man, Saints are really lucky this is not Justin Fields, because at the time he was their top option in Chicago. But, I mean, Jaden Daniels, he won the Heisman off his legs. Like, this is what this guy does. And we were doing the fresh picks for Rouse's. Y'all should check those out on our Instagram account. And, I mean, bro, 62 yards, I think he's going to get that. I highly think he's going to get that. And, there's going to be some people out there that's like, oh, well.
He might do it in one play. The way they've been giving up explosives this year.
Hopefully not. But, you're right. The way that they have been just leaky kind of all year with those big old plays, it might come through the air. It might come through the ground. You just have to be prepared for everything. And I think another matchup going into it, we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, is the secondary with Kool-Aid and Alontae Taylor. And last week, they both kind of were tested a little bit by Malik Neighbors. But, I mean, going in this game, you got Terry McLaurin coming in here. What are you going to do? What do you think they'll be able to?
Well, speaking of Olave, I mean, Olave used to be compared to McLaurin all the time. They're really close. McLaurin's been having a breakout year. Jaden Daniels has kind of injected life back into his career. Not that it was completely quiet, but they've been a dynamic combo this year.
Consistent quarterback play.
And, for a defense that seems to give up that one big play every single week, I mean, doesn't it just feel like there'll be one long Jaden Daniels run and one long pass from Daniels to McLaurin? That's kind of the Commanders' MO this year, too, is they have those 2 killer plays every week that leads to their explosiveness. So for a team that's done that all year, holding those 2 in check for all 60 minutes would be really tough. And look, I mean, we could do the matchups to watch segment. We can already write it in pen for the next month that it's always going to include Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry, because those are 2 guys we just need to keep finding out about. They were really good for most of the Giants game. They both had one let-up moment. But, those are 2 guys that especially if all we care about is 2025, we want to watch Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor every single week. Another matchup I'll throw in there is the reverse. The Saints run game against Washington. Washington's ranked 28th against the run. The Giants were 29th against the run last year, and they couldn't run against last week, and they couldn't run against them. But they get to push the reset button. Clint Kubiak gets to figure out what he did wrong. This offensive line with a healthy Eric McCoy and a healthy Lucas Patrick and a healthy Cesar Ruiz and Tali Fogg and Trevor Penning, all 5 starters healthy. Alvin Kamara healthy, came back to practice after missing 2 days with illness. Kendre Miller, second week back. Jake Haener's best friend. I mean, can they run the ball? Can Alvin get to a 1,000-yard season in the Dome against, and I don't really know why Washington's that bad against the run. They have Bobby freaking Wagner as their middle linebacker. Obviously, a little past his prime, but still Bobby Wagner. Frankie Louvu they signed from the Panthers, and he's been good as a pass rusher. As well as making tackles from the weak linebacker position. So, Deron Payne, I'm not sure what his status is for the game. They drafted Johnny Newton. So they've got some talented guys in their front 7, but that has been a weakness for them.
Yeah, it's been a weakness for them for sure. And even we're going to get more into AK talk a little bit later in the show, but there's personal milestones on the line. There's an offensive line who was healthy last week, couldn't really get a lot of things going in the run game. That has to come in the dome and show. We talked about it the other day about the Saints being 7-point dogs. Man, you're in the like you gotta restore this dome. It has to be restored, and these are the steps you take towards it. I mean, this season pretty much been a lot of elevator up and down, but it all starts 1-0. They always say that, try to go 1-0. So this is an opportunity to do that.
Any more matchups?
No, I think we pretty much covered the whole
Those are the
9.
key ones.
Yeah.
So here's the next question.
What's up?
Marshon Lattimore, top matchup of the game.
Yeah.
Do you feel better or worse about that trade going into this game? I mean, we might feel worse about it on Sunday if he wrecks the Saints, but I mean, I kind of think with the Saints 5-8, he could have maybe helped them not be 5-8, but I feel like they were destined to be 5-8 no matter what. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of almost feel better about it, even though he could wreck the Saints. It's like I'm glad they were thinking ahead to 2025 at that point, because it makes it not a totally lost season. They added some ammo into next year's.
For sure. Adding ammo in the clip. And like you said, you don't know if that totally would have made a difference, because he can't go on offense and score for you. Like, he could try to get a big 6, but that's unlikely to happen because the defense, they've gone a little while without turnovers, except for last week. DeMario woke up. He got, what was his thing after the game? Yeah, he got his hands from Amazon. And, but yeah, I definitely do think the Saints stockpiling those draft picks for long term, I'm not mad at it at all.
Yeah. It stinks that Marshon Lattimore is not a part of this team because, like I said, 2 years in a row we ranked him as the best player on the team. That probably would still be true. Yeah. But, the fact that he's missed half of another season with injuries, now he'll probably be healthy for the rest of this year, for next year. We'll probably be seeing him in playoff games. I think it was a great acquisition for the Commanders. Yeah. I think it was maybe a steal for the Commanders at what they paid. But I still think it was the right move for the Saints no matter what he does on Sunday.
No, yeah, it's definitely the right move for the Saints. Looking ahead in the future is
And unfortunately, that's what we're doing with this team already. Faster than they wanted to, faster than the fans wanted to, but we're there.
Reality comes.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Reality hits hard.
Ochsner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number 1 grocery store
in Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Strawberry Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome into the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio mobile edition here at PJ's Coffee at 2600 Airline Drive. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Look, man, let's continue with the positives going into the future. Chase Young, a guy who's picked up over the summer, top free agent that the Saints were able to secure, he's starting to kind of come along at the right time. Is Chase Young peaking at the right time, and how does that signing look as of this moment?
Chase Young is really hard for me to evaluate because I think it was on the Members Only pod with Kevin where I made the Marcus Davenport comparison. You know, Marcus Davenport had some years where he was getting a ton of pressures and not getting a ton of sacks. But I always felt his presence. Yeah. Like, he disrupted his sign on a line of scrimmage, and that was a big reason why Trey Hendrickson had that breakout year for the Saints before he went to Cincinnati. I think it helped lead to a lot of Cam Jordan sacks. Like, Marcus Davenport was a clear difference maker.
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel that way about Chase Young, even as he's racking up these pressures. He's now fourth in the NFL in pressures, according to NFL Next Gen Stats, which blows my mind because I would say I feel like he's had a disappointing year.
For sure, quiet.
And I'm not just looking at sacks, I swear. But then again, I mean, I think every once in a while he pops on film as the guy who's a couple yards behind a play when, should he have hustled more on that play? I don't know if that's a negative stigma that's always carried him. I don't know if we just put an unfair microscope on him and I watch everything he does more than I watch what Carl Granderson does, for example. But Chase Young makes a difference enough when you're reminded of his potential. And I think that's part of the frustration with Chase Young is he reminds you how special of a talented athlete, a gifted athlete that he is. And then he has games like that. Darren Rizzi called it the best game he's had as a Saint yet. That I absolutely wouldn't mind being his agent this offseason because he's still just 25 now. He's still going to be a 26-year-old next year, hitting free agency with people having evidence to convince themselves that there's still something there. If he is top 5 in the NFL in pressures, even if he doesn't get – he only has 3.5 sacks, but let's say he has 5 sacks and he's top 5 in pressures – and he plays all 17 games
Somebody's
after the neck
pay
surgery.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
And I don't think that – I feel like the Saints won't be the team to pay him, both because they ain't got no money and because, they realize that paying him $18 million, $20 million is not going to solve all your problems. No. He couldn't solve your problems this year. And unfortunately, their pressure and their run defense have been two of their biggest weaknesses this year. So they know he's not the golden ticket. So many other teams have so much money. I think this is huge for him to be playing like this down the stretch, and good for him because I'm glad he's had the chance to play all 17 games. He's had a really positive attitude in that locker room. I think it was a great move for the Saints. I just think this is going to be the textbook definition of somebody who's going to get paid on potential and reputation and ceiling. And I don't know if the Saints can afford to be a team that does that with any type of player that's getting paid on ceiling.
No, and especially if we're talking about them looking forward into the future, that's not matching up with the long-term plans. But you talk about a microscope being put on somebody because of their potential. And I think that is extremely applicable to him this season because you come in after training camp, you see him kind of get taken off that pitch count and just full throttle, and it's like, well, you're not on the pitch count anymore. Where's the results? And now they are starting to come, but I think there is all right, let's look at Chase Young's snaps and seeing like, well, you were supposed to be this Ohio State game record, 2nd overall pick, this and this, that and that, and we weren't seeing that early. And I think that kind of did
He
lead to some
said
disappointment.
he said this week that he feels like he's rushing the passer better now than he was that rookie year when he got all the attention. When he was the defensive rookie of the year, right? And there were other accolades that year too when he was the number 2 overall pick. But that rookie year was his most productive breakout year when everyone thought he was going to be the next great thing. And I believe him when he says that. I really do. I mean, I think he's gotten by. Joe Woods was asked about it too. I mean, he's a guy who, for a long time in his career, he's gotten by just by being the most talented player on the field.
Yeah.
But he's added to an arsenal of pass rush moves. He's added to counter punches. He's added to learning what the game plan is going to be against him and how he's going to work against that. So I think it's an ascending player. He's a player I would love to sign
for
my team for the right price. I just think he's going to price himself out of New Orleans. If you could re-up on that 1-year, $13 million deal, I'd love to do that again next year. I just don't think that's going to be available next year.
And I definitely think that fit and identity, not just in football, just in life, are, they're very important, fit and timing and identity. Because, when he was the hype in Washington, those were a team with no identity. They were literally changing their names. Ownership was changing. A lot of different things were changing hands. Coaches were turned over. Just a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't secure. He goes to San Francisco last year, was able to play in the Super Bowl and get a sack, but wasn't a part of their long-term plans. Came in here with an injury, and it was like the Saints, they knew it, signed him, coming out there. So it's a chance for him to get his legs back under him. And
against this team, too.
He
doesn't like watching this team thrive without him.
No.
I think he would love to be a part of spoiler for them. I'm sure he has good friends over there.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Including fellow Ohio State product Terry McLaurin.
That's right. Big O State, but I mean, he has O State guy here. He has Pete. He has Chris.
He's fit in well. He's fit in well in the locker room.
For sure.
He
But just let's look at a whole. You talk about how the microscope was on Chase. Let's look at the defensive line in a whole. Who is the Saints' best defensive lineman right now?
It's a good question because this is Brian Brzee week. It started off as Brian Brzee week. He also had his maybe best game as a Saint this last week, the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
That's right.
He's now got, I think, 3.5 sacks in the last 3 games. He's getting there as a pass rusher. Still has work to do as a run defender. Carl Granderson, I think, has had a quiet year. I almost named Carl Granderson the defensive MVP last year, right up there with Paulson Adebo and Demario Davis in contention for that honor. And I feel like he's maybe taken a step back or just been a little quieter this year. Cam Jordan obviously used to be number 1, and there was no conversation, and he's fallen back. So it's become an interesting conversation. Part of me wants to still say Chase Young, but Brian Brzee is obviously the rising one. When we talk contract, obviously I like the idea of the second-year ascending player who's coming into his own, and you still have under team control for the next 3 years. I don't know if Brzee is better on this day yet than Granderson and Young. He's the asset I would want most, but best player on the field right now this second, I kind of maybe still lean toward Chase Young, but maybe I'm being blinded by ceiling too. I don't know. What do you think?
Look, definitely it's very encouraging that Brian Brzee is in this conversation and not just another wasted first-round pick. So having him in here in this conversation is very encouraging for the future. Leading the team in sacks, 7.5.
Yep.
It's good. It's good, but there are still things that need to kind of come together for him to be labeled as the best on the defensive line across the board. Granderson, really hoping that last year was not his ceiling.
Yeah.
But I'm riding with you. I'm going with Chase Young being the best player on this defense right now because of his ability to kind of do similar things that these two players can also do, but add his own little flavor into the pot as well.
All right, people, when we go into overtime, I want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear other votes for this.
Yeah.
Overtime.
I
feel like Chase Young's not the right answer, but I feel like that's the problem. There's no clear right
There's
answer.
nobody
to this
who's jumping off the page.
There's no S tiers or A tiers right now.
No, it's just you're here and then
But the B tier is kind of stacked, right?
Shep.
No, I'm saying Chase Young, Brian Brzee, and Carl Granderson are all in the B tier, and
You're talking about compared to
I don't
the
know
league?
if Cam Jordan's probably fallen into the C tier, maybe not. I don't know.
He was not utilized fully to his abilities earlier on in the season, so it can't really say that yes or no. But I mean, hey.
They need to upgrade across the board, though, next year. I mean, this is number one for me in the draft. Like I said, the Saints have so many needs that I am not going into the draft saying we have to draft this position, at least not with the first pick. But defensive line, defensive end, and defensive tackle are two of my top like 4.
Oh, well, I'm going on the offensive side. That's on my top 2.
Yeah.
But let's roll on to our next segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. You spoke earlier about Alvin being back at practice after dealing with an illness 2 practices. Are there any concerns that he will be limited this week?
I don't think so. I would play him with confidence in fantasy. I know it's a huge week, fantasy playoffs, and I'm sure that scared the crap out of people when he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. All signs point to him being fine. Darren Rizzi said actually it was his call to keep him out for one more day yesterday as a precaution. Yeah. He returned today. He was full practice. No questionable, no anything on the injury report. So I don't think the illness should be a concern. I don't think him missing practice time should be any concern. The only concerns I would have are can the Saints run the ball in this game? Can they keep this game close enough to run the ball? But if they're down, they can pass the ball to Alvin and throw it to him. Will Kendre Miller get a lot of run? Yeah, I think so, but not enough to cut into Alvin's touches. As we said, it's the 28th ranked rushing defense. I think they'll be throwing to Alvin a lot. I would think he can help you as much as he has been helping all season in fantasy.
Nah, definitely seeing him back at practice today was encouraging. You know what I mean? Like early on in the week, it was like, oh well, Alvin is out, and then when you find out it was from an illness, precautionary on different fronts, it's like okay, but. Top priority is can that run game get together and not do like they did in New York.
The beauty of Alvin is he's effective even when you have to abandon the run. They never abandon Alvin.
Right, and there's a personal milestone on the line.
Yep.
Yes, he only needs 6.
That's the concern. Can he get to the 1,000? We did that over and under for Rouse's too. Were you over?
I was over. Yeah,
I was under because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball enough. He needs 62 rushing yards to get the dome rocking. So I hope he does it. I hope we get that moment in the dome. Otherwise, they'll be talking about it on Monday Night Football in Green Bay while everyone's shivering.
Well, while that ground is concrete, because that's what I'm saying. Playing it, I was even thinking about that with Derek. Like, just hold him out because in Green Bay, I don't know what the weather is up there right now, but I could probably put a lot of money that it's going to be cold, and that ground turns to concrete when it's cold. There's no it's heated. Nah, bruh. That's hard. So you don't want to get tackled on that, but. Even kind of with the run game, peeking at overtime a little bit, a lot of times in overtime, I go on my, not rants, not tangents. I just speak about players' gear, and little things like that that's important to me. Kendre Miller was out there in the Kobe Grinch cleats this week. That
exudes
that means he has a little bit of confidence coming out there.
Felt good about carrying 14 people into the end zone with him last week.
I'm just saying, it seems like he coming with a little extra juice in the box. Let's see what he could show out there on the field.
I hope they get to keep running the ball. That means we'll be seeing more opportunities to see some stuff from Miller and more opportunities to see some stuff from Haener because the run game would be his best friend.
That's right.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. There's always that one person on your holiday shopping list that's just impossible to find the right gift for. They have everything they want, and there's nothing they need. So what do? This year, head up to Boudreaux's Jewelers on Metairie Road and get that special someone a limited edition Breitling Saints watch. That's right. That's a Breitling watch with the Saints fleur-de-lis right on the face. Only 104 of these were made, so if you're looking for something special, this absolutely meets the mark. Boudreaux's Jewelers has been around since 1933, and they have a great selection of handmade jewelry, watches, and rings. It's the perfect destination for your holiday shopping. Boudreaux's Jewelers at 701 Metairie Road in Metairie. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
It's good! The Saints score! Saints score!
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
Hey everyone, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code NewOrleans for 20% off and free shipping.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to the Mobile Oshner Andrews Sports Institute podcast studio. It is now time for our Martin questions of the day. It's a Friday, so there are two of them. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's first question is, if the Saints finish the season 1-3 and have a top 7 pick, what does that do for a lot of vets like Cam Jordan, Derek Carr, etc.?
Look, we've written about this on the site a few times. Please check it out. Search for Saints salary cap. I did it once, I think, during the mini buy, and then I did it again after they traded Marshon Lattimore. Unfortunately, the math kind of says you can't get rid of everybody. I say unfortunately, meaning you can't just reset the salary cap all in 1 year. If they traded or cut Derek Carr, they wouldn't be able to do Carr and Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu. And they wouldn't be able to do everybody at once. You got to kind of pick and choose. Yeah. But I do think if the Saints are picking 7th and they finish 6-11, and even if they're not, I mean, if they miss the playoffs again this year, nothing is going to change with the fact that you have 34-year-old guys up and down the roster. Your best players are well over 30. This is going to be 4 straight years of underachieving. You've got to reset the salary cap. You've got to reset the roster with younger players. I would start chipping away. I really would. I think a pay cut could be worked out with Cam Jordan. I think he's good for the locker room. Yeah. I think maybe he would want to finish his career in this community, and if he wants to keep playing, I think he could agree to the right price. I think Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu, who already took pay cuts, will stay around next year. Alvin Kamara already extended his contract. He'll stay around next year, I think. Derek Carr, I've said it a few times now, I just think the state of this team right now should not be paying a quarterback $40 million. I don't think Derek Carr's proven that he's not worth his contract. I think his contract is in line with Baker Mayfield, and I think he's in that tier with Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith and Russell Wilson, where circumstances of the team depend on Sam Darnold in Minnesota. I've said that a million times, but I don't want to pay I wouldn't want to pay $40 million for any one of those guys. I don't think the Saints should court Sam Darnold in free agency and try to pay him $40 million. No. I don't think they should, try to trade for Baker Mayfield, who's due $30 million next year and $40 million the next year. And I don't think they should pay Derek Carr $40 million. So I don't know if there is a possible pay restructure to be worked out there. But, yeah, I'd like to see the Saints catch up on the cap a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like them to accept their reality. The next head coach and possible any additions that a new head coach, if that decision comes along with anyone being added to the personnel department, the front office, anything like that, we'll have a lot to say about that. But I don't want to just run it back. I don't want to see the Saints just run it back.
No, definitely don't. I think clearing this holding pattern is imperative for the future and just getting more in the cupboard to be able to get out there and get players and sign people and retool this team to where it needs to be in the future. The second question is, how many players on this Saints roster would a new head coach not at least consider moving on from?
Yeah, this was a little negative tinged, I thought. I think to finish the question, they said, I can think of two. But I get it. It's the exact opposite of the previous question. How many players do you want to keep? How many players do you even want to consider? Like they're saying, I think the way I understood the question was, are there any players that you wouldn't even consider moving on from? And first of all, everyone on their rookie contract you would keep. It'd be silly not to keep. I mean, obviously that includes Kool-Aid McKinstry and Tali Fuaga and all that. It includes Brian Brzee, and it includes Kendre Miller, and it includes Alante Taylor, and it includes anyone who's in year 2 or 3. Chris Olave, obviously. A new coach is not going to come in here and cut any of those players. I mean, maybe Isaiah Foskey. We could talk about Trevor Penning. We've talked about him and Nauseam. They're still on guaranteed rookie contracts. Yeah. As for people who have already gotten paid, Rashid Shaheed got that one little 1-year deal. You're going to have a decision to make with him, but he's an obvious keep next year with under contract for one more year. Pete Werner, Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy have all already gotten second contracts. Absolutely keeping all three of those guys. And then who are we forgetting? Anybody else? I mean, Carl Granderson is already in that contract. I don't see a need to move on from Carl Granderson.
Me neither.
He's only making $12 million a year. He's one I would consider trading. Maybe I don't think cutting.
You can't let him go for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Yeah. You probably end up with 20 plus players that you feel really good about keeping and having some core with, even if you do want to clean house.
Yep. That'll do it for this edition of the NewOrleans.Football show. We appreciate y'all for coming in today. Look, come check out PJ's Coffee. It's the holiday season. You want to get somebody something? Come here, get yourself something to treat yourself, treat everybody you love, treat even the people you don't love, because everybody needs a little joy in their life around this time of year. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.